petals to me now.
Hi guys, it's Heather with Running with Scissors, and today we are painting this cutie. This is Dashing Doors number 21. So let's get started. Okay, so this is your Dashing Doors number 21. That's June of 2024, and it's number 21. And it is the word summer, and each of the letters is a summer kind of like iconic character. Well, not a character, like an icon. So there are a lot of colors in this door hanger, so let's go over those. But real quick, you'll have, of course, your wooden door hanger, and then you'll have your bag of ribbons and your jute and your zip ties. Now, there were no carbon transfer words this time around in this quarter, so we did something different with this one. And of course, this one is all, the letters are actually the door hanger. So we're gonna use a variety of colors. You pick whatever colors that you want to use, okay? As always, white or black. And remember, the brand doesn't matter. You don't have to have Deco Art or Apple Barrel. You can have whatever brand you want. Hobby Lobby's brand and Michael's brand is just fine. I'm using Apple Barrel Yellow, Deco Art Purple Iris. I'm using Apple Barrel Cloudless, Apple Barrel Lime Tree, Apple Barrel Parakeet, Apple Barrel Caribbean, Deco Art Moody Blue. I'm also using Apple Barrel Pink Parfait, but I will tell you straight away, I do not like this pink. It is too much of a hot pink for me, and I cannot find one that I do like. So I actually take our Deco Art Primary Red, and I mix some of the Pink Parfait with it, and I get the color that I like. And then I'm also using Apple Barrel Pumpkin Orange, and I'm not going to use this straight either. I'm going to end up mixing this with white, so make sure you have some white. Okay, so on this door hanger, I think it will be easier if we flood it with white. So we're going to use a wide 1-inch flat brush that looks like this. And we are going to flood this with white. One coat is all that you need, and it doesn't have to be a heavy coat. But we're going to be painting yellow and orange, and yellow and orange cover much better when there is a foundation of white on it. So let's get that foundation of white on, and then come back here when our paint is dry and we're ready to move on. Okay, we're back and our foundation is covered and it is dry. So if you haven't already gotten your cups of water ready, make sure you have those, some baby wipes, and of course all your different brushes and your pens. Of course, I always have like, I don't know, 3 different containers full of brushes, which is ridiculous because I end up using only a couple of different ones. So make sure that you have a variety. All right, you'll need a paper plate and some paper towel as well. All right, let's get going here. We are going to start in the middle because I think it's going to be easier on this guy to start in the middle and work our way out left and right. That way we're not having our hands come over top of what it is we're already doing. And that way we can turn it around. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start painting my beach ball. And I'm going to put some different colors on my plate because I want that beach ball to be different colors in each spot there. Now, originally I told you I would probably change this color, and I might, but for the beach ball, I might just leave it like it is. So I'm going to get a little bit of a few different colors here. I'm going to go with this lime tree. I'm going with that pink parfait. I'm going to put the orange on my plate. I'm also going to put the Caribbean. And chestnut yellow, and I'm going to put the purple. There we go. So that's what our paint palette is going to be looking like. And that's just for the beach ball. So these areas of the E are pretty small. You're going to want an angle brush, and you're going to want a kind of a small angle brush. I would probably set my sights on a 5 or a 6. And then just take a color, it doesn't matter which one, and start painting the sections of the beach ball. So I'm not going to talk through this because if you guys have been with us for a little while, this is not your first rodeo. You know what you're doing. So just follow that score line, getting as close to the edge as you can. You'll have to slow your brush down. Make sure you pick up any bumpers of paint. Let your first coat dry before you put your second coat on. Most of these colors will need a second coat, but just move on to other areas of the beach ball while you wait for that first one to dry. Remember to rinse your paint brushes out very thoroughly between each paint color change. You don't want your brush sitting there with paint in it while you make your way around the beach ball. Get out as much paint as you can by wiping it on your plate, on your project, or on your paper towel, and do a double rinse. And then let's come back here after we've made our way around the beach ball, and each of those sections has 2 coats of paint. So I'll keep the video going, but I'm going to speed it up, and if it's too long, I'll put it to a little bit of music. All right, we'll see you back here shortly. Okay, so I don't like how dark this purple is. I am going to lighten it up. So lighten your purple up if you want it lighter. I just realized that even though I like that purple, all of my colors were kind of pale in comparison, so I'm going to lighten it up. Okay. Okay, so there's the second coat on our beach ball. I can see that my Caribbean color is probably going to need a third coat right there, but the pink may also. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll wait and see how that looks. But we're going to go ahead and let that dry, but we're going to move on. We're going to move on to our M, and we're going to paint our M with that hot pink color. But first we're going to take it and we're going to lighten it up. So we're gonna have stripes, right? But one of the stripes is gonna be a darker pink and the other one's gonna be a lighter pink. So we're gonna take and lighten that pink up a little bit. And we're gonna paint the entire M with the light pink. And then we'll come back and we'll go over top of the lighter pink with the solid straight color pink. Remember to mix your paint with the wrong end of a paintbrush or an old junkier brush. And I'm using a number 10 angle brush to fill in the light pink area here. Actually, want mine a little bit darker. There we go. All right, as that first coat on the M. I think it's gonna need another coat, so let's get all of this dry and do our touch-ups and our second coats. Okay, we are gonna come over to our M and we're gonna put the stripes on our M. And so let's just start. I'll start with the second one down because it's a nice wide stripe. And then we're just gonna skip every other line. Now this definitely will need 2 coats. I hope it does not need 3, but it may. So just keep that in mind. It may need a 3rd coat. Now one thing about this color I have learned, there's no sense in trying to swipe over it more than once to get the color on, because this color, it definitely just wipes right back off. So just get a thin coat on, let it dry, and come back to do your second coat. All right, we're gonna paint one of our ice cream cone scoops orange and the other one green. You're definitely gonna need a couple of coats on these, so just go ahead and get your paint on and then let it dry and get your second coat on. I'm painting with an angle brush. I think it's a number 6. Nope, it's a number 8. This is kind of a small area though. You may want a slightly smaller brush. And I think we'll tone this yellow down just a little tiny bit for the cone. All right, let's get that second coat on that ice cream cone. I think 2 coats will be enough on our cones. And this orange actually covered very, very well, so I'm not even sure you're going to need a second coat on that, but all right. I'm going to turn it. We're going to move on to our R next. All right, we're going to get started on the R, and I am using the purple. That's that purple iris. Now the dots are going to be Maybe just a shade lighter, but the R itself, the background of the R is going to be considerably lighter. So I'm going to add a dollop of white, and I'm going to mix in some of that purple to get the lighter shade of the background. That works for me. And then I'm just going to use a bigger angle, so probably like a 10 or a 12 here, and we're going to fill that background in of the R. The dots will make a little bit darker, but they're going to be over top. So we'll start with this. While we're waiting for that first coat on that R to dry before we can put the second coat on, I'm going to move on to the strawberry. Now, my strawberry is going to be pink, but I want it a little bit darker. And of course, I do not like my pink. So at this point, I'm going to put a little bit of pink, a little bit of red on my plate, mix them together, and use whatever color that ends up. Had a little less pink than I had red. That's the color we're going to use. All right, and then we've got to do the top. I'm gonna put probably both greens on my plate. That was way too much. And I think I'm going to take a little bit of that Moody Blue. Well, I had a little clog in it, so that was way more than I wanted, but all right, we're gonna use that. And then I want just a small little angle for this one. This is a number 6. I would probably do a number 4 if you've got it. This is kind of a big brush for this little space. Even a liner brush in here would work. All right, let's get this all dry and do our second coats. Okay, now while I have this pink mixed, I want to use this same pink on my watermelon. So while I wait for that to dry down there before I can add my purple dots, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to paint the inside of my watermelon with this pink color. Oh, whoops. Don't paint that part. Did you see I painted right over top? That's the bite. It's okay because we're gonna paint that with a background, but I painted right over top of that, not even paying attention. I was looking at it and I was going, why is that line not connected there? You missed a line, but it's not connected because that's the bite out of the watermelon. So we'll cover that with a blue, but don't paint that. I'm going to take some of it off just so the blue doesn't have such a hard time covering it. I've painted 30. Well, last count was 36. I'm sure it's probably more like 50 now. And I'm still making mistakes. So it just goes to show you that it doesn't matter how many you do, you still make mistakes. But I'm not worried about it. That's easily fixable. All right, we're gonna let that dry, but I am gonna go ahead and put on a coat of green to the outside edges of this. Now, I want a little bit lighter of a first coat on this, and then every other stripe is gonna be a little bit darker. So I'm gonna use the Lime Tree to do the foundation coat around the rind. And then this green that I have mixed up here that I used on the top of the strawberry, that's the same, that's what we'll use for the stripes. So while we wait for the flesh of the watermelon to dry, we're just gonna go and put on the first rind coat. Let's let the flesh and the rind dry, come back down to our R, and then let's look at doing our dots here. I am just going to paint my dots in with a flat brush. Actually, I'll use an angle brush. I'm going to use a number 9. You can probably go up to a number 10 if you would like. And I'm going to make my dots a little bit darker of the purple there, so I'm just going to bring that extra purple I put on my plate and mix it in with some of that light purple to get a darker purple. That works for me. If you want yours darker or lighter, you can go ahead and adjust that. And then just come in and do a coat on your dots. Hopefully it won't need to, but it might. Okay, I think my dots are definitely gonna need a second coat, and I wanna get that finished up, so I'm gonna go ahead and dry them real quick so we can just finish this R up. I just realized that I painted the center of the R, and we didn't talk about that when we were initially painting this R. It's okay. I didn't realize I was doing it. I didn't realize I did it. So do I wish I wouldn't have? Probably. But is it okay that I did? Absolutely. Because that background is getting painted with a bluish color anyway. And so I don't really mind that I painted the center of that R. All right, that's it for the R. Now let's go back to our watermelon. I'm gonna put a little bit more of this pink parfait on my plate, and I'm going to take just the end of a brush. Whatever brush you have that has a thin base to it, you don't want a real thick one. Usually, there we go, just like this. And I'm just gonna dot my paint in the, or my brush into the, it's not brush, it's the wrong end of the brush, all right, into the pink, and I'm making seeds. You could even use like a liner, the head of a liner brush, the bristles of a liner brush, to do the seeds if you wanted. I know strawberry seeds are supposed to be a little bit darker, but I wasn't putting brown on my door hanger here. You can do that if you want to. Mine are gonna be pink. Okay, let's move back up to our watermelon, and we're gonna just do another coat of each color on there. And then we're going to do the dots on the watermelon and the stripes on the rind. Now the dots on the watermelon, I'm just gonna use that straight pink parfait. And I am just gonna use a brush on that. Once again, you can use a pouncer or a fan brush if you have one. All right, there's the first coat on those. And then let's do the stripe. Now, once again, I'm just using that same green that I mixed up earlier. And I'm gonna use an angle brush to make those stripes. All right, and there's the stripes. Now, if you want to put a second coat on those, go ahead and put a second coat on those. But for me, in my head, the stripes, this whole thing is kind of whimsical. So I don't really want a whole solid on those stripes. I like those just like that. Now the dots, yes, the dots I'm gonna put a second coat on. I definitely want to cover those a little bit better. So I'm gonna do that now. But the stripes, that's all I'm gonna do to those. And actually, those dots might even need a third coat. Let's get them dry real quick. Yep, I'm gonna put a third coat on those. Who knew? All right, so that's 3 coats, and that's all it's getting. So if it didn't cover completely, that's just how it's gonna look, because I'm not gonna put 4 coats on. You guys make the decision for yourselves, okay? All right, next we're gonna move on to probably the M. All right, let's get started on the M. And for the M, we're gonna use the Stucco Art Moody Blue. And the M is striped, so it's going to have just a lighter shade of this Moody Blue. So we'll make that using white. So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to mix up the lighter shade, and I'm gonna paint the whole entire M with that lighter shade, and then we'll go back over it with the darker. I don't want it super light, I just want it a little bit lighter. You judge for you what you want to do, but for me, I'm gonna go with this shade, and you can see the original blue right there. I don't need that much paint. I overmixed, I wasn't really thinking. Remember to turn your work. All right, we're gonna let that dry. And while we wait for that to dry, we're gonna paint our pineapple. And we're gonna use the yellow paint for the pineapple, but we're gonna make it a little bit lighter. Now we'll put some of the zigzag lines in there, like on a real pineapple. We'll make that with, oh, well, we'll probably have to use a brown, which I didn't say that we needed initially, so we'll have to throw a little bit of a brown in there for that. All right, we're gonna take a smaller brush. I'm gonna use this brush because I want to do some variegated green in here. So I'm gonna put both of my greens on my plate, just a little squeeze of each. And I'm going to use my greens and my yellow that's left over probably. And I'm just going to fill in the stem of the pineapple with a combination of the greens and the yellow. First I'm gonna get it covered, and then I'll go back in and add all the fancy. Okay. Now I've got that base coat on there. I'm just gonna come in and swoop in some different color. I'm gonna go between the light green, the dark green, and I might even swipe some yellow in there like that to lighten that green up even more. You can do white as well, white paint. And I'm not gonna smooth this out. Usually we always smooth our brush strokes or our bumpers out, but on this one I'm not going to. Okay, and that's how I'm gonna leave that. All right, we are gonna put our second coat on our M now. Okay, so now we're going to let that dry, and while we wait for that to dry to put on our darker stripe, we're gonna move over to our S. And our S is going to be 2 shades of orange, and then this will be yellow. And you should still have some yellow on your plate from the pineapple, so we'll do that, and we'll use this orange. And we're gonna put the orange on our plate, and we're gonna put enough on our plate that we can also mix in some white at the same time. And we'll mix up our lighter shade, and we'll paint our entire S that lighter shade of orange. You don't want it super light. Okay, These are the two shades of orange that I'm going with. It's just my straight orange with a tiny bit of white in it, and then it lightened even further up. And we're gonna use our flat brush again. I'm gonna stay with that 3/4 brush that I was using here. And I'm gonna paint this whole S that light orange color, the lighter of the two. All right, there's our S. We're gonna let that dry. While we let that first coat dry, actually, while we let that dry, let's get a coat on the sun rays, which we're going to do yellow. And I'm just gonna use that same yellow that I had mixed up for the pineapple, which is still on my plate. And I'm gonna use a number 6 angle brush. And I'm gonna come in here and get those rays. Now those rays will definitely need another coat. Well, actually, scratch that. They may not need another coat. They actually may be just fine, just like that pineapple. Okay. It's coming together. We're almost there. Okay, let's move back over to our M, and we're gonna put that Moody Blue back on our plate straight. We're not going to mix it with any other color. And we're going to use a narrow angle brush. I would say probably a 5 will be good. Maybe a 7. I'm gonna use a 7. And then we're just going to paint every other stripe the darker of the blue. Now you should, on mine, the way I wanted it, you'll barely be able to see the difference in the shades. Now we're not gonna line every other stripe with a black marker, so try to stay in that scored area the best that you can. But remember too that these are whimsical and they're not supposed to be perfect. Okay, there's our striped M. And we're gonna move back over to our S and give that orange a second coat. All right, there's our second coat on our S. And then we are going to do the darker coat of that orange, all those stripes there. I'm gonna clean our brush out. And let's get that S dry. I'm gonna use my number 7 angle to paint these stripes in on this S. Some of them are a little narrower, so that smaller 7 brush will probably be better. Now the difference between these two colors should be much like the M and should be very subtle. All right, and there's our S stripes. That was quick and painless. And now we are ready to, well, let's put our stripes in our pineapple real quick. And remember, I did say that I didn't realize that we needed brown, so we need a little bit of brown. And my chocolate is about empty. So I'm just gonna throw a little bit of burnt umber right next to the yellow on my plate. You just need a drop of it, and you're gonna mix that in with your burnt umber or with your yellow, and you're just darkening that yellow up just a tiny bit. And you're gonna want a liner brush. So like this here. This is a number 2. Actually gonna get mine wet first. It will glide a little easier. And then I'm just going to get a little bit of that paint on my brush. I'm gonna roll the brush in the paint, roll the bristles so the bristles stay all together. And then I'm just gonna come in and do some diagonal swipes like that. You will have to refill your brush with every other swipe. And then I'm gonna come and go the opposite direction. And now we are going to do the background. That's all that's left white, okay? And we're gonna do that, a super light shade of the Caribbean blue. So I'm gonna put a good dollop of white on my plate. And then I'm just gonna add a little tiny bit of this Caribbean blue to it. And then we're gonna get that all mixed up. And that's the shade we're gonna go with. And I'm gonna use an angle brush. I'm gonna use a number 6. Number 9. We're gonna use a number 9. And I'm gonna go in and fill in all of the white areas and the middle of that R that I messed up, okay? So this might take you a minute, just be patient, and hopefully should only need 1 coat. Okay, so I actually think that that's a little lighter than I wanted, so I'm gonna darken it up a little bit. Oops, and that's probably too much. the spot here where I initially messed up the watermelon is going to need 2 coats. Hopefully the rest of it won't. And this just needs 2 coats because you remember I painted that all pink. The inside of the R might end up needing 2 coats too because I painted that all blue. All right, I'm gonna keep on trucking here. Before I do the outside area around the S, I'm gonna just cut in here in the middle so I don't have to worry about getting my hand in the paint. You can switch brushes up too when you have smaller areas if you want. Even though they're not intended to be used this way, I generally just tip my angle brush over and use the point side. And I just use it lightly to fill the area in. I'm going to come in and do all the center areas real quick here. All right, and that's it. Now look at it and see if any of this blue that you just put on needs another coat. And if you can get away with just touching up some areas, you can probably do that. Otherwise, we are ready to move on once it's all dry. That looks good to me. I'm gonna hit it with the hairdryer real quick, and then we'll move on. All right, I'm gonna use a number 5 Posca. And I'm gonna outline all of the letters. I'm not gonna outline the stripes or anything like that, none of the polka dots, just I'm gonna outline the letters. All right, there's all the outline on the letters and the fruit. Now, like I said earlier, I'm not going to outline the circles, the polka dots, or the stripes in the M's, the S, and the watermelon. But wow, what a difference outlining in paint marker makes. It's so crazy to me. Wait, we got some finished work to do here. I wish I would have thought about while we were doing the pineapple stripes. We need to put some on this pine ice cream cone as well. I still have my plate out though, so I'm just gonna grab a little bit of that brown that we made, and I am going to do some diagonals in my ice cream cone to give that some character. Okay, there's that. Now I also want to give my ice cream scoops some sprinkles. So I'm not sure how well this is going to turn out. We're going to try it. I'm going to grab a tiny bit of pink. You can actually probably just open the cap and grab it right from the cap. I'm just gonna do some just some lines here with a nice thin liner brush. And these are gonna be our sprinkles. So I'm gonna use pink, and let's use purple. Hold on. Again, just grab right from the cap. And yes, I didn't clean my brush or change my brush. Okay, so our ice cream has some sprinkles. And I'm gonna clean this brush off, and I'm gonna use this brush for the rest here. But instead of using a paint marker for this part, I'm going to use just some white paint. I might thin it down just a tiny little bit here. And I'm going to put some stripes in my beach ball. The rest we will use paint marker on, but I'm gonna do stripes in my beach ball, and I'm gonna do some whooshes through my polka dots on my watermelon. All right, and then let's do the same thing with the dots in our R. All right, we can clean that brush. And now let's get this dry with a hair dryer to make sure that's all dry. And then we're gonna go through it with a white paint marker. We're gonna go through with a white paint marker and maybe a fine black one as well. Perfect. Remember to shake that white up, because white does not stay opaque unless you do. Okay, so apparently when I get a phone call these days, it stops the recording process but blocks the call, and I have no idea why that happens, but I missed that the video stopped recording. So what you missed was me doing the paint marker white. So let's just go over verbally what I did here. I'm using a Posca white number 5, and I'm just throwing in some outline of the white with the white marker. And then I'm doing some curly cues here. So it doesn't matter how you outline or highlight with your white paint marker. These are just whimsical door hangers. There's no right or wrong to these. You can do it however you want to do it. So you can see at the picture in the video right here where I have the white, and then I put some curly cues in as well. And I'm actually going to do a little bit more on this E. I don't think about it too much, and I don't pre-plan it. I just do it. And then also when I got to the watermelon, after I had all of my white done, I took my fine black, that's your number 3, and I made a couple of 3 seeds. And all I did was make a teardrop shape and then filled it in. And I just did 3 of those there. Now we're just going to use our number 5. And I'm going to do my pineapple. And my strawberry. Put a little curly cue in there. And then I'm going to come over and do my ice cream cone. And we'll do the cone itself. A little bit of my M. Now the last thing that we're gonna do is we're gonna put some highlights in the seeds of the watermelon, and then we're gonna outline the whole entire thing with our jumbo black marker. Okay, and then we're gonna take our jumbo black and we're just going to run it along the edge of the entire door hanger. Okay, that's it. Now we're going to do the hanger. So we're gonna grab our goodie bag here. We're gonna make our ribbon cluster. We're just gonna keep our 1.5 inch ribbons together, fold them up like a taco, and trim from the rounded folded edge up and out to the corner. We're gonna flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. We're gonna take our 2.5 inch ribbon, fold that up like a taco, cut from the folded edge up and out. Same on both sides. And then we're just gonna make an X out of these. Oops, that one didn't cut apart all the way. And take our larger zip tie and run it around the entire thing and cinch it down a little bit. Flatten our ribbon out there. Move that cinch to the back and tighten her down. We're going to slide that small zip inside that larger zip tie, and then we're going to finish tightening that large zip tie down and trim it. We're going to take our jute and we're going to put an end through each of the holes in the front. There's one, there's two. We're going to bring those ends together and this loop up as high as we want it to hang. We're going to pinch at the loose strands at the top of that loop. That's kind of marking our spot there, and we're going to tie an overhand knot so it ends right where we pinched it. And then we'll cut off that excess jute. Bring that knot to the back of one of those holes, and then we're going to take that small zip tie and wrap it around both strands of jute on one side of the door hanger or the other. I'm choosing the side with the pineapple, and I'm going to tighten that right down, and I'm going to trim the end off of it. And there you have your summer door hanger. All right, so here's this guy all done. Now this was a little bit more challenging, I think, probably because there was a lot more work to do on it than any of the door hangers you've done in the past. What, 20? I can't remember if this is number 20 or not. So this, I think maybe 21. So this is a little bit more challenging of the door hangers. And it just had a lot of work to do on it. So, but I think it turned out super cute. It's so funny to me how drastic of a change the outlining with the black marker makes. So it looked like a hot mess before we outlined it with the black marker, and then look how it all came together. It looks fantastic. So I hope you guys had fun with this one, and we will see you the next quarter.